I always thought my wedding day would be the happiest of my life. Instead, I spent it watching my best friend destroy everything I'd built while wearing a $5,000 dress I'd never get to walk down the aisle in. My name is Cassandra, and this is how I lost my company, my fiancé, and my best friend, all in the span of 6 hours. It's just business, darling. Tessa's words dripped with fake sympathy as she stood in the bridal suite doorway, her signature red lipstick perfectly applied. The board meeting just ended. You've been voted out. I stared at her, my hands trembling around my bouquet. What are you talking about? What board meeting? Oh, honey. She clicked across the marble floor in her Louboutins, each step echoing like a gunshot. Did you really think I'd let you keep running Lure Lab into the ground? The numbers don't lie. What numbers? My voice cracked. I built that company from nothing, from my garage. And I made it profitable. She pulled out her phone, showing me a screen full of red figures I'd never seen before. The board agreed. You're too emotional, too attached. Sometimes we need a steadier hand at the wheel. The room started spinning. Where's James? He'll never let this. James isn't coming. Her smile widened. He made the smart choice. For everyone, my knees buckled. Faith, my new intern, caught me before I hit the ground. She'd been quietly arranging my veil, forgotten in the corner until now. You can't do this, I whispered. The Clavis Tech contract belongs to Lure Lab now. Your Lure Lab. My Lure Lab. Tessa reached out as if to touch my face, then pulled back. You should go home, Cass, before the guests arrive. Save yourself the embarrassment. I don't remember walking out. I don't remember Faith helping me into my car. I just remember sitting in the parking lot, still in my wedding dress, when my phone buzzed. One new email. From Clavis Tech Global Partnerships. Subject, contract confirmation, personal services agreement. This agreement is exclusively with Cassandra Moore as an individual contractor, not affiliated with any agency. I read it 3 times before it sank in. In her rush to take everything, Tessa had missed the most important detail. The contract, worth more than Lure Lab's entire annual revenue, wasn't with my company. It was with me. My phone buzzed again. A text from Faith. I have copies of everything. The real numbers, the emails. She didn't know I could access her cloud backup. Call me when you're ready. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. Mascara streaked down my cheeks. My carefully curled hair was falling flat. I looked exactly like what Tessa wanted. A broken, betrayed bride. But something else was happening in my chest. Something cold and clear and powerful. I pulled out my phone one last time and typed, 2, James. I understand now. Don't worry about explaining. Just know that whatever she has on you, whatever made you run, it won't protect you from what's coming. 2, Tessa. Congratulations on the promotion. Enjoy it while it lasts. Then I drove home, poured myself a glass of the champagne that was supposed to be for my wedding toast, and opened my laptop. I had work to do. That was the last time I cried for her. The last time I cried for any of them. Because Tessa forgot the most important lesson from our years of friendship. I don't just build brands. I build empires. And I burn them down just as well. This isn't a story about a ruined wedding. This is a story about karma. And karma, my friends, was just getting started. The first time I met Tessa, she was crying in our college dorm's shared bathroom at 3 a.m. Her boyfriend had cheated on her, and she was scrubbing red wine from her favorite white blouse. Here, I'd said, handing her my emergency stain remover. Dab, don't rub. 10 years later, I was the one trying to remove stains. From my reputation, my company, and my life. Look at this, Faith said, spreading printouts across my kitchen counter 3 days after the wedding that wasn't. Tessa manipulated every financial report for the past 6 months. She made it look like you were bleeding money on vanity projects. I picked up one sheet, studying the doctored numbers. How did you get these? She never logged out of the cloud drive on the office iPad, the one she gave me to manage her schedule. Faith's eyes gleamed. She's not as smart as she thinks. My phone buzzed. Another message from James. I'd gotten 12 in the past 2 days, all unread. You should see what else I found. Faith continued, pulling up her laptop. Emails between Tessa and the board. She's been planning this for months, but that's not even the worst part. She turned the screen toward me. There was a photo attachment. Tessa and James at some dimly lit restaurant, his hand on hers. The timestamp, 2 nights before my wedding. The champagne glass in my hand shattered. I'm fine, I said quickly, watching blood bead along my palm. Just give me a minute. Faith grabbed a towel. There's more. The board doesn't know about Clavistec yet. Tessa told them you lost the pitch. I laughed, a sharp, cold sound. Of course she did. We could go public, Faith suggested, wrapping my hand. Tell everyone what she did. No. I flexed my fingers, feeling the sting. That's what she expects. Poor, emotional Cassandra, lashing out with accusations. We need to be smarter. My phone lit up again. This time it was Olive, a former client who'd mysteriously dropped Lurelab last year. Cassandra? Her voice was hesitant. I saw the news about your departure. There's something you should know about Tessa. I'm listening. She blackmailed me. Said she'd release private photos if I didn't terminate our contract. She wanted to show the board she was cleaning house of problem clients. I put the phone on speaker. Olive, how would you like to help me with a project? The one that takes her down? I'm in. After hanging up, I turned to Faith. We need access to everything. Every email, every contract, every coffee receipt. Already downloaded. She patted her laptop. But what's the plan? I walked to my office whiteboard, the one where I'd planned countless campaigns. Tessa thinks she won because she knows how I think, but she forgot something crucial. What's that? She taught me everything she knows about destroying people. I uncapped a marker. But she doesn't know everything I know. Faith's phone chimed. She went pale. Cassandra, you need to see this. It was an Instagram post. Tessa at a charity gala wearing my wedding shoes, the vintage Manolo Blahniks I'd spent months hunting down. The caption, sometimes the best things in life are hand-me-downs. Blessed. That's it. I grabbed my keys. Faith, call Olive. Tell her to meet us at the Capitol Grill in an hour, and forward me everything you have on Colton Dean. The new investor? Why? I smiled, thinking of the secret folder on my desktop labeled Insurance. Because before Tessa made him Lurelab's guardian angel, he was my most interesting client. And he owes me several favors he'd rather not explain to his wife. As I drove, another text from James appeared. Please let me explain. It wasn't what you think. I clicked my phone off. Let him sweat. After all, revenge is a dish best served with receipts. And I was just getting started. Something's not adding up in these Q3 reports. Colton's voice crackled through my burner phone. I'd called him using a voice modulator, posing as a concerned junior accountant. The discrepancies total nearly $2 million. I continued, disguising my voice. If the SEC investigates, send me everything, he cut in sharply, and don't breathe a word of this to anyone else. I smiled, hanging up. Across the table at the quiet cafe where I'd made the call, Olive raised an eyebrow. He took the bait? Hook, line, and sinker. I slid my laptop toward her, showing the Clavistec proposal. Your turn. How much can you invest? After what Tessa did to my reputation. Everything I have. Olive's eyes hardened. $2 million, enough to match the discrepancy I just heard about? Exactly enough. I closed the laptop. By this time next week, my phone buzzed. The real one. A text from my mother, Georgia. Darling, we need to talk about this unfortunate situation with Tessa. She's very concerned about your state of mind. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. Of course they were in contact. Your mother? Faith asked, noting my expression. She'd been quietly typing nearby, archiving Tessa's emails. Wait, she said suddenly. Look at this. An email chain from 3 months ago. I leaned in, reading, From Georgia to Tessa. Subject: Re. Concerns about Cassandra. You're right, dear. She's always been difficult, just like her father. Remember what we discussed. Don't let her push you out like she did with poor James. Sometimes we must be cruel to be kind. That manipulative bit. I stopped, forcing myself to breathe. Forward me everything between them. Faith's fingers flew across the keyboard. There's more. Weekly meetings at the country club, phone records. Your mother's been feeding her information about you for months. My phone lit up again. A voicemail notification. From James, left 3 hours before our wedding. Cass. God, I'm so sorry. They know everything. I was wrong. She's using me. The bachelor party. She had photos. I never meant to. Static. If you get this, slurred. Don't trust any. The message cut off. What bachelor party? Olive asked. The one Tessa insisted on planning. My hands clenched. At her family's lake house. No phones allowed. For privacy. Faith's eyes widened. The same weekend those financial reports were altered. Call Reed, Olive suggested suddenly. He's still at the Journal, right? If anyone can help us expose... No. I stood up, my chair scraping back. Not yet. First, we finish what we started. Faith, send those documents to Colton. Olive, wire the investment. I need to pay my mother a visit. What about James's message? Faith asked quietly. Save it. I gathered my things. We might need it later. But right now, I want to know why my mother's having secret meetings with the woman who stole my company. I drove to George's mansion, the one she'd kept in the divorce by claiming my father was unstable. Rich, coming from a woman who'd spent my childhood comparing me to my perfect deceased sister. The housekeeper let me in. Georgia was in her sunroom having tea with Tessa. Darling, my mother's false brightness filled the room. We were just discussing you. I'm sure you were. I remained standing. Having fun planning my intervention? Tessa set down her cup. Cassandra, we're worried about you. These accusations, these threats. Save it. I pulled out my phone, playing George's email audio. Tell me, Mother, what exactly did you and Tessa discuss about James? The color drained from both their faces. How did you... Tessa started. Get out. My voice was ice. Now. After Tessa fled, Georgia tried to speak. I held up my hand. You know what's funny, Mother? You always said I was too much like Dad. But this? I gestured around her perfect, poisonous world. This is exactly why he left. I turned to go, then paused. Oh, and those country club dues you can barely afford? Tessa's been recording your confessions about tax fraud. Just thought you should know. I left her spluttering, my heels clicking on her marble floors. Time to show them both what being difficult really meant. Miss Moore? The valet at the Grand Hyatt did a double take. We weren't expecting you tonight. I know. I handed him my keys, smoothing down my red dress, the exact shade of Tessa's signature lipstick. That's rather the point. Lure Lab's acquisition celebration was in full swing inside the ballroom. Through the glass doors, I could see Tessa holding court, champagne in hand, wearing my company like a crown. Ready? I asked Faith and Olive, who flanked me in matching black. The USB is in place. Faith confirmed. And Colton? Should be making his announcement any minute. We walked in just as Tessa took the stage, her white dress gleaming under the spotlights. And with this acquisition, Lure Lab will become the largest independent agency in the region. Interesting timing. Colton's voice boomed from the back. He stepped forward, tablet in hand. Considering our investors just flagged some concerning irregularities. Tessa's smile flickered. Colton, darling, perhaps we should discuss this. The funding round is suspended, he announced, pending investigation. The room erupted in whispers. I caught my mother's eye across the crowd. She was clutching her pearls, face ashen. Ladies and gentlemen, I called out, stepping into the light. The whispers turned to gasps. While we're discussing timing, I have an announcement of my own. Tessa gripped the microphone. Security. About the Clavis Tech contract. I continued smoothly. The one Lore Lab claimed to secure? Faith hit a button on her phone. The ballroom screens flickered to life, displaying my new company's logo alongside Clavis Tech's. I'm pleased to announce an exclusive global partnership. I smiled directly at Tessa. With my new firm, effective immediately. She's lying, Tessa snapped. She's just bitter about what? Olive stepped forward. About you blackmailing clients? About doctoring financial reports? Faith tapped her phone again. The screens filled with security footage. Tessa in her office, laughing. These idiots will believe anything. Her recorded voice echoed through the ballroom. The board, the clients, they're all just pawns. And Cassandra? Please. She actually thought we were friends. More clips played. Tessa mocking clients, threatening staff, discussing kickbacks. Each one dated, time-stamped, undeniable. Turn it off, Tessa screamed. Why? I walked toward the stage. Isn't this just business, darling? She lunged for me, but Colton caught her arm. That's enough, Tessa. The SEC will be very interested in these recordings. You can't prove, actually. My mother's shaking voice cut through the chaos. I can confirm everything. All heads turned. Georgia stepped forward, clutching a manila envelope. I kept copies, she said, of everything. I thought I was protecting you, Tessa, but you used me. Used all of us. Mother? I breathed, genuinely shocked. I was wrong. Georgia met my eyes. About so many things. Tessa laughed, a high, brittle sound. You're all insane. I built this company? No. I cut her off. You stole it. And now? I nodded to Faith, who pressed one final button. The screens showed a live news feed. Breaking, tech giant Clavis Tech announces billion-dollar partnership with rising star CEO Cassandra Moore. Now, I continued, you have nothing. Security appeared, not to remove me, but to escort Tessa out. As she passed me, she hissed, "This isn't over." You're right, I whispered back. I'm just getting started. The room erupted in chaos. Reporters shouting questions, investors demanding answers, my mother trying to reach me through the crowd. My phone buzzed. A text from James. I saw the news. Can we talk? I can explain everything. I deleted it without responding and turned to Faith and Olive. Shall we? I gestured to the exit. We have a company to build. As we left, I heard the distinctive click of Tessa's Louboutins running after us, followed by a splash and a shriek. She'd slipped in spilled champagne, falling face first into a dessert cart. Sometimes karma doesn't just come back around. It serves itself on a silver platter. Your daughter is a thief and a fraud. Tessa's voice screeched through my mother's speakerphone. And I can prove it. I sat across from Georgia in her study, watching her hands shake as she held the phone. 3 days after the gala, and Tessa was already making her countermove. These documents. Georgia turned her laptop toward me. She says they show you stole Lore Labs IP for Clavis Tech. They're fabricated, I said flatly, just like everything else she's done. I've already sent them to the press. Tessa sneered through the phone. Georgia, if you want to protect your family's reputation. I ended the call. Really, Mother? After everything, you're still letting her manipulate you? I don't know what to believe anymore. Georgia's eyes were red. Everything's falling apart. My phone buzzed. A text from Faith. Reed Butler is trying to reach you, says it's urgent. Reed, my college ex, now a senior editor at Digital Insider. Give me his number, I told Faith. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Reed in a quiet coffee shop. He looked good, better than I remembered. His eyes still had that intense focus that used to make my heart race. Quite a show you put on at the gala, he said, sliding his coffee aside. But Tessa's documents hit my desk this morning. They look convincing. They're fake. I know. He leaned forward. Because I did some digging of my own. Found something much more interesting. He pulled out his tablet, showing me a series of articles from the Society pages, all featuring my mother. George has been playing a long game, he explained. Charity fraud, tax evasion, embezzlement from her own family foundation, all hidden behind designer dresses and fundraiser speeches. I stared at the evidence. Years of my mother's careful deceptions laid bare. Why are you showing me this? Reed's hand brushed mine. Because I never believed you were the villain in this story. Let me help. By exposing my mother? By exposing the truth. All of it. Before I could respond, the cafe door chimed. James walked in, stopping dead when he saw us. Cassandra. He stepped forward, looking desperate. Please, I've been trying to reach you. Back off. Reed stood, but I touched his arm. No, I said quietly. Let him speak. James collapsed into a chair. She drugged me. At the bachelor party. Had someone take photos. Said she'd release them, ruin my company, everything I'd built. I thought I could handle it, protect you somehow. By leaving me at the altar? By trying to get evidence against her. His voice cracked. But she was always one step ahead. Until now. He pulled out his phone, showing us a video. Tessa, clearly drunk, bragging about how she'd orchestrated everything. When did you record this? Reed asked sharply. The night before the wedding. I was wearing a wire, trying to get her to confess, but then she realized, slipped something in my drink. James's hands shook. I woke up in a hotel room, too late to stop anything. I stood up slowly. Send that video to Reed, along with any other evidence you have. What are you going to do? Reed asked. Nothing. I smiled. You are. Write your story, Reed. Not about stolen IP or corporate takeovers. About a society woman's decades of fraud and how her protégé followed in her footsteps. Your mother will never forgive you, James warned. She never has before. I gathered my things. Why start now? As I walked out, Reed caught up to me. Have dinner with me tonight, for old time's sake. I studied him. The earnest eyes, the slight smile. Once he'd been my future. Before ambition and Lore Lab and Tessa. Not tonight, I said softly. I have a company to run. But maybe soon. My phone buzzed. Faith again. Tessa's calling an emergency board meeting. Tomorrow morning. Perfect timing. By then, Reed's story would be live, and both Tessa and my mother would learn exactly what it meant to underestimate me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served in headlines. Socialite scandal, decades of deception exposed. Reed's headline screamed across Digital Insider's homepage at exactly 9 p.m., right as Lore Lab's emergency board meeting began. I watched through the glass walls of my new office as my phone exploded with notifications. Faith burst in, laptop in hand. It's everywhere, she said breathlessly. Every major outlet is picking it up. Your mother is about to get a very unpleasant wake-up call. I turned to the window, watching a black town car screech to a halt outside Lore Lab's building. Tessa emerged, practically running inside. My phone rang. James. They're raiding her office, he said without preamble. The IRS, SEC, everyone. Tessa's trying to delete everything, but Faith already backed up all her files. I finished, including the NDAs she used to silence her victims. A commotion erupted in Lore Lab's lobby. Through my binoculars, I could see Tessa arguing with federal agents. How did you get her fingerprints? James asked. Her old phone, the one she lost at my bachelorette party. She never changed her security settings. Faith's phone chimed. Colton's calling an emergency investor meeting. Says he has proof of widespread fraud. Of course he does. I smiled. I sent it to him last night. Across the street, Tessa was being escorted out, her perfect hair disheveled, mascara running. She looked up directly at my office window. I raised my coffee cup in a mock toast. Miss Moore? My assistant poked her head in. Your mother's here. Georgia stormed in, waving her phone. What have you done? The country club just revoked my membership. The foundation board is calling for an audit. Karma's funny that way, I said calmly. How's Tessa's evidence against me looking now? You've ruined everything, she hissed. Just like you ruined your sister's... Don't. My voice could have frozen hell. Don't you dare bring Olivia into this. She died because you pushed her too hard, demanded too much perfection. I won't let you do the same to me. Georgia crumpled into a chair, suddenly looking every one of her 58 years. I just wanted, she whispered. Control, I finished. You wanted control. So did Tessa. Look where it got you both. My phone buzzed. A text from Reed. Stories going viral. You okay? Before I could respond, Faith gasped. Cassandra, look. On her laptop, a financial newsfeed scrolled. Breaking, Clavis Tech Innovation Award nominees announced. Rising star Cassandra Moore leads pack. Impossible, Georgia breathed. After everything that's happened. Actually, I turned my monitor toward her, showing Clavis Tech's latest earnings report. Our first quarter projections are already exceeding targets. Turns out success is the best revenge. A commotion outside made us all turn. Through the glass, we watched as federal agents led Tessa out in handcuffs. The NDAs, Faith explained, reading from her phone. They found evidence of blackmail, coercion, and fraud. She's looking at serious time. My mother stood shakily. I need to... Go home, I suggested. Pack. I hear the Cayman Islands are lovely this time of year. She paused at the door. Cassandra, I'm... Sorry? I shook my head. Save it for your deposition. After she left, James texted. Tessa's asking to make a deal. Says she'll tell them everything about the wedding, the bachelor party, all of it. Letter, I replied. I'm done looking backward. Faith cleared her throat. Speaking of looking forward, Reed's waiting in the lobby. Says he has dinner reservations. I thought about Tessa's smirk the day she betrayed me. My mother's constant disappointment. James's cowardice. Then I thought about Reed's honest eyes. His unwavering support. The way he saw through all the lies to find the truth. Tell him. I smiled, gathering my coat. Tell him I'll be right down. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about destroying your enemies, it's about rebuilding yourself into something they can never touch. And I was just getting started. And now, speaking on modern female leadership in tech, please welcome our keynote speaker. The spotlight hit me as I walked onto the convention center stage. 3 months had passed since Tessa's arrest, and here I was, addressing the same shareholders who'd once voted me out. Leadership, I began, gripping the podium, isn't about control. It's about creation. In the front row, Faith and Olive beamed. Reed sat beside them, notepad in hand, giving me a subtle thumbs up. We've all heard stories about backstabbing and betrayal in business. My eyes found Colton in the crowd, now heading Lure Labs' dissolution committee. About friendship turned toxic, trust twisted into weapons, movement at the back caught my eye. Tessa, out on bail, slipping into the shadows. She looked smaller somehow, without her designer suits and red lipstick. But true leadership? That's about building something unbreakable, something honest. I clicked to my next slide. Clavis Tech's latest innovation, a breakthrough in digital marketing AI. This technology wasn't built on lies or manipulation. It was built by people who refused to be broken, who chose creation over destruction. Scattered applause turned to thunderous cheering. In my peripheral vision, I saw Tessa leaving, shoulders slumped. After the speech, Reed caught up to me backstage. Powerful stuff, he said, handing me a water bottle. Though you left out the part about your mother fleeing to the Caymans. Some stories write themselves. I smiled. How's the book coming? Almost done. Just need to fact-check a few. Cassandra. A familiar voice cut through the bustle. James stood there, looking uncomfortable in a wrinkled suit. The prosecution wants me to testify, he said quietly, about the bachelor party, the blackmail, everything. Good. I kept my voice neutral. The truth should come out. I never stopped loving you, he blurted. If there was any way, there isn't. I felt Reed tense beside me. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, James. Some shouldn't be. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from Tessa. You really were always smarter, but I was prettier. Enjoy being alone. I laughed, showing it to Reed before blocking her number. Alone? Reed raised an eyebrow. She clearly hasn't seen the reservation I made for tonight. Before I could respond, Faith rushed up. They're ready for the award ceremony. I straightened my jacket, heading back toward the stage. But something made me pause in the wings. There, in the last row of the auditorium, sat my mother. She'd clearly snuck back into the country for this. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away, dabbing at her face with a handkerchief. You okay? Reed squeezed my hand. Better than okay. I squared my shoulders. I'm free. The announcer's voice boomed. And the Clavis Tech Innovation Award goes to... I walked into the spotlight again, but this time it felt different. Not like revenge or vindication, but like victory. Pure and simple. Taking the crystal trophy, I spoke without notes. Success isn't about winning. It's about choosing who you become when everything falls apart. Thank you for helping me choose wisely. Later that night, over dinner with Reed, my phone lit up one last time. A notification from my banking app. Unusual activity alert. Large transfer from Georgia Moore to Cassandra Moore with memo. For Olivia's foundation. I'm sorry. Reed watched me carefully. You going to accept it? I thought about my sister. About the person she might have become if she'd been allowed to choose her own path. Yes, I decided. But not for me. For the next generation of women who need someone to believe in them. Reed raised his glass. To new beginnings? To better endings, I corrected, clinking my glass against his. As we left the restaurant, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked nothing like the bride in white from all those months ago. I looked stronger. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. What brings you here today? Dr. Sarah adjusted her glasses, notepad ready. Honestly? I settled into the leather chair. I won my war, but victory feels complicated. My first therapy session wasn't about breakdown or breakthrough. It was about understanding. Tell me about the victory, she prompted. Tessa pleaded guilty yesterday, James testified. My mother... I twisted my ring. Not the engagement ring, but a new one I'd bought myself. She's facing charges but cooperating. The foundation money is being returned. And how does that make you feel? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Faith's text read, SOS. Mystery company just filed lawsuit against Clavis Tech Partnership. Check your email. Excuse me, I told Dr. Sarah, scanning the document. My laugh startled us both. The lawsuit came from a shell company. But the writing style, the specific grievances, I'd know that voice anywhere. Tessa, I explained. She's trying one last play. Does that worry you? Actually. I gathered my things, suddenly energized. It helps me answer your question. Victory isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about becoming someone they can't destroy. Outside the office, Reed waited in his car. Want to visit Olivia? He asked softly. He knew my schedule, knew I'd been avoiding the cemetery. Yes, I decided. But first, we need to stop somewhere. At my office, Faith and Olive had already assembled our response team. The lawsuit's garbage, Olive confirmed. But look at their investor list. A familiar name jumped out. My mother's former country club friend, backing Tessa's new venture. Perfect, I smiled. Faith, remember that recording from the club's security cameras? Faith's eyes lit up. The one where she and Tessa discussed hiding assets? Sending it to the prosecutors now. My phone rang. James. I heard about the lawsuit, he said. I have more evidence from before the wedding. Let me help. Send it to Reed, I replied. And James? Thank you for finally choosing the truth. At the cemetery, I placed the Clavis Tech Award by Olivia's headstone. You would have laughed at all this drama, I told her, but you also would have understood. Reed squeezed my shoulder. Ready for dinner? The team's waiting. Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing him Tessa's latest email threat. I have a better idea. At my favorite restaurant, I gathered Faith, Olive, and Reed around a table covered in documents. Tessa thinks she's starting over, I explained, but she forgot the most important lesson. Paper trails never die. What's the play? Olive asked. No play, no revenge, just truth. I raised my glass. To building something so strong, no one can tear it down. My phone lit up. A news alert about Tessa's arrest for violating bail conditions. Karma really does come full circle, Faith mused. Speaking of circles, Reed pulled out a small box. I was going to wait, but... Don't. I covered his hand. Not yet. Let's build something real first. Something that's just ours. He smiled, tucking the box away. I can work with that. Later that night, alone in my office, I opened my laptop to find an email from my mother, sent from her detention center. You became everything I was afraid to be. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see that. I clicked reply. Some things have to break before they can heal. A notification popped up. Tessa's lawsuit was dismissed. Her new company dissolved. The last thread of her power snapped. But as I packed up to leave, I didn't feel triumph or satisfaction. I felt peace. Because the real victory wasn't in the revenge or the awards or even the justice. It was in the woman I saw in my reflection. Someone who could lose everything and build something better from the ashes. Someone who finally understood that the best revenge isn't a dish served cold. It's a life lived well. Let her try, I whispered to my empty office, thinking of Tessa's next inevitable scheme. That was just my opening move. After all, the strongest empires aren't built on revenge. They're built on truth. And mine was just beginning.